Hi, this is Matt from Cold War, and I'm going to play a quick game of Lady Death Last Stand. Let's talk about the game boards. The first one is the player board. This is where you're going to put your avatar, the abilities that it has, its equipment, its essence, and the conditions it might have. Then we have the two encounter boards, and this is where you're going to push back against the Hellies from invading. Next we have the Spirit Shard board. This is a talent tree for your avatar. Beating certain campaigns will reward you with a Spirit Shard. You can place them on the Spirit Shard board to gain access to static abilities or to use for a one-time activated ability. Finally, we have the Master board. This is used for epic boss battles. For this short playthrough, we won't have any masters in it, so we won't be using it for this one. Now, let's talk about the card types. First up are campaign cards. On the card will be their name, their tier number or difficulty, aspects in order of how many abilities you can bring to the campaign, the invader limit, which is the losing condition, affixes, which are effects during multiplayer, and the win condition. Next are rewards for the campaign. Prime rewards are rewards given when you beat the campaign for the first time. Standard rewards will be rewarded each time you beat the campaign. The encounter section will tell you how many of each corresponding encounter card you'll need to make up the encounter deck for the campaign. Now, let's take a look at avatar cards. First up is power. That tells you how many attack dice you can roll during an attack, followed by proficiencies. Red for fire, blue for shadow, and green for ethereal. Proficiencies tell you up to how many fire, shadow, or ethereal attack dice can be included in your attack roll. Next is essence. Essence is the resource you use for your health and your abilities. Then we have the card name and the game text. Now let's take a look at an encounter card. The power is how much damage the encounter deals to you during the counterattack phase. Next is the resistances. Red for fire, blue for shadow, and green for ethereal. Encounter resistances tell me what I need to roll with an attack die to deal damage. For the Underworld Goon, I would need to roll a 3 or better with a fire, a shadow, or an ethereal attack die to deal damage to the Underworld Goon. Essence is the health of the encounter. Beneath that, we have the name and the game text. On the bottom right is the tier or difficulty of the encounter. Now, let's take a look at an ability card. Up first is the name, followed by the essence cost to cast, the magic school, fire, shadow, or in this case, ethereal, and the game text. Lastly, the item card with its name, its tier, its equipment slot type, and the game text. Let's take a look at how a campaign's played. Here's how you set up a game of Lady Death Last Stand. We need our boards, then we choose the campaign that we're going to play, and that will go into the campaign slot. Then we select our avatar and place it in the avatar slot. In this campaign, the aspects tell me that I can have one ability, so I'll take my unsummon and place it in the ability slot. Then we need the encounter cards that are part of the campaign. We shuffle them up and we place them in the encounter deck slot of the game board. Some dice, some essence counters, a dice rolling box if you want, and we're ready to play. There's one more thing that we have to do before we go into turn 1, and that's set our starting essence for Lady Death. She has 6. So we'll put 6 essence onto our player board. And then as a reminder, her game text reads, at the beginning of a campaign, if you have no spirit shards, gain 1 spirit shard. I'll use one of these counters to be a spirit shard, and on the spirit board, I'll place it and pick an ability here. I think I'll use this one. Target minion loses 5 essence. So real quick, I just wanted to mention what the phases of a turn actually are. First, there's the move phase. So if any encounter is in play, we would move it 1 position forward. Then we would draw a new encounter from the encounter deck. We have a chance to play abilities, then we would attack, and then we get counterattacked. So here we go. Since we don't have any encounters in play, we skip that part and we move on to drawing the first encounter. Plavorian Squealer. He has an essence of 4, so we'll take 4 essence counters and mark it so we know how much health he's got. He's got a power of 2, so during the counterattack, if he's still alive, he will deal us back 2 damage. And the resistances are 3 for fire, 4 for shadow, and 3 for ethereal, which means if I'm using fire dice to make an attack, I need to roll a 3 or better in order to use that die to do a point of damage to the Squealer. The Squealer's game text reads, when a mutant comes into play, this encounter gains 1 essence. Now I'll move on to the attack phase of the turn, and for this, I need to see how many attack dice I can roll. And Lady Death has a power of 6, which means I can roll up to 6 dice to make an attack. attack. Then I have to check her proficiencies. So of those 6 dice that I can roll, a maximum of 3 could be fire, shadow, and or ethereal. Means I can do 3 fire and 3 shadow, or I can do 3 fire, 2 shadow, and 1 ethereal. Any combination. Again, checking those resistances, we've got 3 in fire, 4 in shadow, and 3 in ethereal. So I will choose 3 fire and 3 ethereal. After we've rolled, then we need to check against the resistances of the encounters. For my fire, a 1 and 2 5s, and I need to roll a 3 or better in order to use it to deal a point of damage to the squealer, because its resistance is 3 in fire. Can't use the 1, then we'll take a look at our ethereal rolls, a 5 and 2 6s. Since the squealer has a resistance of 3 for ethereal, the 5 and the 2 6s are definitely going to beat that, so I can use those as damage as well. It's only got 4 essence, so I only need 4 attack dice to take all of that, and we'll take 1 point of essence for each. Now that it doesn't have any essence, I'll go to Oblivion, and we go to the counterattack step. Since there's no creatures in play, we don't take any damage. On to turn 2. Again, for our move phase, we don't have any encounters in play, so we don't have to move them forward a position. Next, we draw an encounter, and we've got an Underworld Goon. He's got an essence of 5. We'll mark that 5 essence counters on him. And here he's got a power of 1, and his resistances are 3 in fire, 3 in shadow, and 3 in ethereal. His game text reads, if there are 2 or fewer encounters in play, draw an encounter. So here, to make room for the encounter, we move him forward a position and draw another encounter. And we get another Underworld Goon, give him his 5 essence. And again, game text is, if there are 2 or fewer encounters in play, draw an encounter. So our first Underworld Goon goes down, this one goes to position 2, and we draw another encounter for the game text. Got a mutated Hive Warden. He has an essence of 6, power of 1, and his resistances are 3 in fire, 3 in shadow, and 4 for ethereal. For his game text, he's got the keyword Guardian. What Guardian means is that lethal damage needs to be dealt to Guardians before damage can be dealt to non-Guardians. I have to kill this mutated Hive Warden before I can deal damage to anything else. This can be really bad for me. Got 3, 3, and 4 for our shadow. On our Guardian Hive Warden here, we've got a resistance of 3. For our fire, we've got 2, a 3, and a 5. Checking his resistance, being 3 in fire, I've got a 3 and a 5 that are definitely going to beat that, but this 2 is not going to help me. Since I've only got 5 damage to deal, because they made those resistance rolls, I'll take 5 essence from them, get my dice out of the way. And then we move on to the counterattack. Underworld Goon is going to deal me 1 point of damage. This Underworld Goon is going to deal me 1 point of damage. And the Hive Warden will deal me 1 point of damage. Now at the beginning of turn 3, we have encounters in play. We'll move the Underworld Goon to 4, this Underworld Goon to 3, and this mutated Hive Warden to position 2. Now we'll draw our next encounter, and we've got a Hellbear. The Hellbear has an essence of 5. It's got a power of 2, and the resistance on him are 4 for fire, 4 for shadow, and 3 for ethereal. Which means I have to roll a 4 with a fire die in order to deal damage or better. Roll a 4 or better for shadow in order to deal damage. Or for ethereal, I could roll a 3 or better to use that to deal damage to it. The Hellbear does have some game text. If it's in the first position, it actually dazes me. Dazed means I have 2 less power for the turn, and I cannot use abilities. Since Lady Death has a power of 6, being dazed now makes my power so I can roll a maximum of 4 dice instead of 6. I also can't use my Unsummon ability. Still have the Guardian on the board, so I have to deal 1 point of damage to the Guardian in order to start working on any of these other ones. Since I can't use abilities, I have to skip that portion of the turn and go right into attacking. We've got a 5 in fire, a 6 in fire, a 2 in fire, and a 1 in shadow. Hive Warden, the 1 isn't going to beat its resistance. Next I've got a 2 in fire. The 2 doesn't beat the 3 resistance on the Hive Warden, which leaves me with my 5 and 6 of fire. 5 is definitely going to beat the 3 fire resistance for the Hive Warden, and I will take that, put him into Oblivion, and I've got 1 point of damage left that I can assign here, because my 6 on the fire is definitely going to beat the 4 for the Hellbear with its 4 resistance, the 3 fire resistance for the Underworld Goons. And put some damage here on this Underworld Goon. Now we're going to move on to the counterattack. Each Underworld Goon is going to deal me 1 damage because they both have 1 power, and the Hellbear is going to deal me 2 damage from its 2 power, doing a total of 4. Moving on to the next turn, move the Underworld Goon down 1, that Underworld Goon down 1, this Hellbear goes to 2, and we draw our next encounter, being a Raging Goon. This Raging Goon has an essence of 5 and a power of X. So X in its game text equals the number of goons in play. We've got an Underworld Goon, another Underworld Goon, and a Raging Goon. This Raging Goon has a power of 3 now. We've got a 1 in Ethereal, a 1 in Fire, and a 2 in Fire. We've got a resistance of 3 Ethereal here, 3 Ethereal here, 3 here, and 3 for that one. It's not going to help us. For a Fire, we've got a 1 and a 2. Our resistance in Fire is 3 for the Raging Goon, 4 for the Hellbear, not going to do it, and 3 for these Underworld Goons. For our Shadow, I've got 2 4s and a 6 in Ethereal. So these 4s are going to beat the Shadow resistance here on the Raging Goon. I'll be able to deal damage to the Hellbear because it's only got a resistance of 4, and the Underworld Goons have resistances in Shadow of 3, and this 6 is going to beat all of the Ethereal resistances since they're at 3 for each. For my damage assignment, I'm going to take all of these and put them on the Raging Goon. And now for the counterattack, I'm going to take 1 from each of the Underworld Goons, 2 from the Hellbear, and 3 from the Raging Goon, because its power is equal to the number of goons in play. Taking 7 damage total. At the beginning of the next turn, move everything down 1 more position. We've got 2 that are getting close to being invaders. Move our Hellbear and our Raging Goon down 1 position, and we draw another encounter. We've got another Raging Goon coming up. 5 essence we're going to put on them. Now we've got 2 Raging Goons with the power of X equal to the number of goons in play. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 goons. We've got 4 power here, 4 power here. Now I think I need to use a couple of abilities here. So we're going to use the 4 to unsummon this Raging Goon in position 1. It loses the essence off of it, so I don't gain that because I didn't deal damage. And we'll shuffle these, set it back, and now I still have my Spirit Shard. Target minion loses 5 essence. Having 2 essence left after using that ability, I think it's a perfect time. So I'll take this off, and I will get rid of the Hellbear, so it's got 5 essence. Again, it's losing it. I don't actually get it, and we put the Hellbear into Oblivion. Now onto the attack roll. All of the resistances on here are 3 for Fire, Shadow, and Ethereal. Just going to grab 2 of each. This roll, I've got a 2 in Ethereal, a 1 in Ethereal, a 2 in Shadow, and since all of our resistances are 3, I'm not going to be able to get anything with it. Do I have 2 3s of Fire and 1 Shadow? I use the 2 Fire here to beat the resistance. Take those 2 points of essence. Raging Goon now goes to Oblivion, and my final one I'll use on this Underworld Goon. Next I get counterattacked. 1 damage coming from each Underworld Goon, and we move on. Draw our next encounter, and we've got a Hellbear. We give him his 5 essence. Since he's in the first position, I'm going to get dazed, which means I can only roll 4 dice this turn, and I can't use any abilities. We're just going to get onto the roll. I've got a 1 Ethereal, a 1 in Ethereal, a 5 in Ethereal, and a 5 in Shadow. We've got a Ethereal resistance of 3 on the Hellbear, 3 on the Goons. So these 2 1s are not going to help, but we do have a 6 in Shadow. And since the Hellbear is going to deal us the most damage, I've also got a 5 in Ethereal. It's going to beat the 3. We'll take 2 points of essence and move on to the counterattack. The Underworld Goons are each going to deal me 1 point of essence, and the Hellbear is going to deal me 2. Now for the next turn, I move everything down 1, draw our next encounter, and we've got a Plavorian Squealer, essence of 4, power of 2, resistances, Fire 3, Shadow 4, and Ethereal 3. We can use our ability this turn, but I don't have enough essence to pay for it. Looking at the resistances, I've got the lowest in Ethereal, being 3 on all of our encounters. Fire, got a 3 here, a 4 resistance here, and 3 resistances over here. Take 3 Fire, 3 Ethereal, roll them. 2 1s on Fire and a 1 on Ethereal. I know it's not going to beat any of these resistances. I've got a 4 and a 5 in Ethereal. That is going to beat the resistance in all of these. A 4 in Fire would be able to deal damage to the Hellbear, having a resistance of 4, and the Squealer in both of the Underworld Goons. I'm going to use all 3 of the damage to deal to this Hellbear, put him into Oblivion. I've got 4 essence left onto the counterattack. I'm going to take 2 from the Squealer and 1 from each Underworld Goon. It's actually me losing the game. Thanks for watching a quick playthrough of Lady Death Last Stand. Obviously I didn't win this one, but I know exactly what I need to do to beat it the next time.